Okay, let's jump right into this explainer by talking about a massive economic shock that completely, totally blindsided Wall Street. Welcome to the algorithmic epoch. For generations, the American dream was built on a pretty stable formula. But right now, that formula is being fundamentally rewritten. And honestly, the wildest part is that it's happening right under our noses, while millions of Americans are just trying to get through their daily lives. Take the first quarter of the year, for example. The U.S. economy grew by 2%. Now, that sounds perfectly normal on the surface, right? But here is the terrifying, absolutely fascinating truth. 67% of that entire economic expansion was driven exclusively by one single thing: artificial intelligence. Not housing, not manufacturing, not everyday consumer spending. Just AI. We're looking at a quiet, aggressive, and permanent structural rewrite of our economy, happening while much of the public is entirely distracted. And you really have to stop and appreciate the sheer, unprecedented velocity of this shift. Think about past technological revolutions, like the personal computer or the internet. Those took literally decades to weave themselves into the fabric of our daily lives. But generative AI, it hit a staggering 53% mass adoption rate in just 36 months. 3 years. This isn't just another passing tech trend you can ignore. It's arriving way faster than society can even psychologically process it, and it's changing jobs, money, and power almost overnight.
All right, moving into Section 1, AI's hidden physical reality, the trillion-dollar infrastructure boom. We need to peel back the curtain here, because we all tend to hold on to this illusion of the cloud as something light, invisible, and magically unlimited. But the reality is so much heavier. America is essentially building digital oil fields right now. The cloud isn't floating in the sky. It's massive warehouses stuffed with chips, millions of tons of concrete and steel, and massive industrial cooling systems that are just guzzling immense amounts of electricity and water. To put a price tag on that physical reality, tech companies have quietly mapped out nearly $1.5 trillion in U.S. data center infrastructure plans. That is a jaw-dropping number. Economists are literally comparing this to the expansion of the railroads or the building of the interstate highway system. Roughly $740 billion of that spending wave is happening this year alone. We are talking about transforming entire landscapes across America into gigantic AI factories. And guess what? Everyday Americans are already paying for this revolution, often without even realizing there's a data center going up right down the road. Because these systems are so insanely energy hungry, regions across the country are seeing electricity and water prices surge by roughly 5% just to keep them operational. And right behind those utility bills, you're seeing rising local taxes, intense housing pressure near these expanding tech corridors, and the total transformation of community geography.
Which brings us to Section 2, the velocity divide, the productivity explosion. According to Stanford's 2026 AI Index, nearly 70% of organizations are already heavily leveraging generative AI in at least one of their daily business functions. Almost 70%. That means the vast majority of the corporate world has entirely flipped the switch. This is absolutely no longer a fun little experiment. It is the new baseline for operating a modern business. And when you look at these staggering productivity gains, it makes total sense why that adoption rate is so high. Marketing output, up 50%. Software development, up 26%. Customer support efficiency jumped by 15%. Thanks to these tools, a solo entrepreneur can now literally operate like an entire global corporation without having to hire a massive team of designers, writers, and analysts. It is entirely replacing the traditional expectation of slow, stable business growth with absolutely ruthless velocity. But this creates a profoundly new emotional reality for the American worker. The old dream was all about finding a stable job, putting your head down, and working hard until you could safely retire. But in this new economy, the winners aren't necessarily the most loyal or even the most experienced. They are the fastest to adapt. Economic survival now demands constant, exhausting reinvention just to keep pace with the machines. Let's move on to Section 3. The job disruption cold truth, when intelligence is automated. Now, this is the part a lot of people want to avoid talking about. If you think having a highly educated college degree somehow guarantees your safety, you might want to rethink that. Employment for young, elite software developers, we're talking ages 22 to 25, has actually dropped by nearly 20% since 2024. These were supposed to be the most future-proof, high-paying jobs in the entire country. But AI is already automating portions of highly skilled white-collar work, proving that absolutely no one is automatically immune here.
And it really exposes the extreme, messy polarization of this new economy. We have two completely different realities unfolding at the exact same time. On one hand, you have a 24-year-old college grad in Chicago drowning in student debt and struggling to find an entry-level job because they're competing directly against AI systems. On the other hand, you've got a single mother in Texas using those exact same AI tools from her kitchen table to build a global business and finally escape poverty. It is the exact same technology driving wildly different human outcomes. And the broader economic divide is just as stark. Goldman Sachs is warning that a full 25% of current human labor activity could potentially be automated. We're talking tasks in law, finance, media, and programming. Yet, at the exact same time, AI is creating hundreds of thousands of heavy industry jobs. The U.S. needs 500,000 new power grid jobs by 2030, and we've already seen 216,000 new data center construction jobs pop up since 2022. It's becoming this brutal divide between those who can adapt to the new infrastructure and those who fall behind. Which leads us to Section 4, the psychological toll, the human cost of automation. This right here is the deeply uncomfortable question sitting at the absolute center of this era. What makes human beings valuable? For generations in America, your identity was directly tied to what you did for a living. What do you do? Define your status, your pride, and your purpose. But when a machine can outthink you in cognitive tasks, an effort no longer guarantees security. Millions of people are left feeling economically replaceable and, honestly, just completely numb. Because of this, the danger isn't just mass unemployment. The real danger is what we risk losing culturally. As AI accelerates absolutely everything around us, we risk losing our patience and our long-term attention spans. We risk losing the value of meaningful human craftsmanship. We're already watching a decline in crucial social trust, the erosion of the stable American middle class, and a massive loss of deep human connection in a society that's already highly isolated. The real threat here is social fragmentation. All right, final section, Section 5, Choosing Our Future, Navigating the AI Era. Now, to survive and actually thrive in this, you need a strategy. First up, acceptance. We have to stop treating AI as an optional trend that we can just wait out. It's an infrastructure-level change. Next, you have to work to be amplified by AI rather than competing directly against it. And interestingly enough, as machines get smarter, your deeply human skills, things like emotional intelligence, leadership, and trust building, those become your most valuable assets. We also have to demand massive reskilling because our old industrial education system just isn't going to cut it anymore. And finally, prioritize your local offline communities and families to anchor yourself. You have to combine the ruthless efficiency of these new tools with the irreplaceable authenticity of being human. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. AI could absolutely create extraordinary abundance and improve millions of lives. But remember, technology doesn't automatically create wisdom. It really just amplifies what we already are. The new economy isn't arriving in the distant future. It's quietly rewriting the world around you right now, today. So how you answer this question will ultimately define your place in the world of tomorrow. Take a moment, look at your own path, and decide how you're going to navigate the algorithmic epic.